Here's the good news. The economy is on fire, and jobs are surging at a rate we did not expect. 250,000 added in November. Now, here's the bad news. In October, I should point out. Here's the bad news. People are quickly interpreting that the Federal Reserve is going to have to hike interest rates as per scheduled in December, then again in February, then again 6 weeks later in late March, that things are going along so well that just to keep up with that, the Federal Reserve is going to have to hike. And that has a lot of people concerned that maybe that could take the fire out of the economy itself, including no less than the President of the United States. So former Home Depot co-founder Bernie Marcus on whether that is a legitimate threat. What do you think, Bernie?
Well, of course it's a threat, Neil, because, you're looking at an economy that's going very well. They say that politics are not in the Federal Reserve. But meanwhile, during the Obama administration, they kept the interest rates all the way down. And as soon as Trump gets in, what do we hear from Powell? We're going to raise the rates. We're going to raise the rates. Meanwhile, I think inflation is somewhere around 2.3%, which is no reason to raise the rates. Why would you want to cool the economy at this point? It's almost as though you're driving a car and you're putting your foot on the brakes while you're trying to put foot on the gas. It doesn't make any sense. And I just think that there's something wrong with the way the Treasury works. Remember, they've raised it a couple of times, and the threat is to raise it to 3%. That threat is enough to knock the markets down. So I just don't believe it's a good idea. I don't know what their thinking is. Obviously, it's going to put a damper on the economy.
Well, that's, Bernie, the way the Federal Reserve, under no matter who's running it, tends to do things. They're just to find that balance between keeping the recovery going and getting inflation out of control. You don't think there's a risk of doing the latter, right?
Oh, I think there is a risk. I think they can drag the economy down. I really do. And, if they continue, he's talking about 3%. He's talking about raising it past that. You're sure it's going to have an effect on the economy. It will. It will. The cost of money, the cost of borrowing will go up. It's going to have an effect on housing. It's going to have an effect on car loans, everything out there. And if you want to put a damper on the economy, this is a good way to do it.
What do you think in the midterms? I know you're getting a different read, and depending on the people you talk to and all, but the consensus, and you've heard it, is that Republicans lose the House, they hold on to the Senate, maybe boost their numbers in the Senate. But do you see anything that gets in the way of that consensus?
Well, look, I would hate to see them lose the House. I think they will keep the Senate. But, you're a prospective, more than I do, Neil. You're around everybody that does this projecting.
Well, I think they're wrong. For what it's worth, Bernie, I think they're wrong. I think the Republicans hang on to the House, but you should probably run the other way. But I'm just saying that I just think that is so baked into the cake here. I'm looking at 30-some-odd races in the House that in fewer than 5 points. Anything can happen, maybe will happen. I just wonder about that. That's all.
Well, I started Job Creators Network. You know what that is, Neil. It's representing small businesses all over the United States. I can tell you they've been on the bus tour around the country talking about tax cuts mean something, that tax cuts are important. But they just did a survey. Rasmussen did it. And in the survey, something's very surprising. 36% of the recipients did not know that they got a tax cut. So it's almost 40% of the people don't even know they got a tax cut. Many people get their payrolls through electronics. It goes right to their bank. They don't see the stub. I remember when I grew up years ago, you would see the stub every year. You knew what you were paying every single week. You saw it coming down. 36% don't know they got a tax cut. There's something wrong with that. And I think that now Trump is trying to sell that, but many people don't believe it. But I'll tell you this much. In the survey, it said people, 3/4 of the people, 75% of the people, maybe more, believe that tax cuts are right, that deregulation is right. So you have this dichotomy of what they believe and what they don't know what they got. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I also think, Bernie, a lot of this stuff, and I don't know if it's a bias thing or something, but it is fair to say that disproportionately a lot of these tax cuts went to corporations. They went to wealthier individuals. Simply wealthier individuals make more money. They get even an incremental tax cut. They're going to get more money out of. I understand how that works, and I understand the rage that happened when people thought I didn't get my share. But yet, 75% of American families did, in fact, get a tax cut, and that the average was $2,500 a year. That's irrefutable math. It doesn't matter. You could be blue in the face arguing it. I'm just wondering whether the reaction is such that people come back and say, all right, maybe the Democrats' approach to this is better, that maybe in the next tax go-round, I'll get a bigger break, and those rich guys won't. And that's what they're hanging on. What do you think?
I don't. It just doesn't make sense. They have jobs. 4.3 million people are working today that didn't work when Obama was president. Since Trump came in, 4.3 million people have jobs. So let's go for 4.3 million people that weren't making money at all before. And now of course, they're making money. Look,
and
we
by the way,
want to
here's
see
an important
jobs happen.
distinction, and you've said this many times, but whether you argue they could have gotten more or didn't get as much as they could have gotten out of the tax, they're obviously spending that money. Their consumer confidence is such that was not buoyed out of ether, out of thin air. So it's coming from something, right?
Well, look, I can tell you this, a Job Creators Network, again, going around the country, we've met with hundreds and hundreds of small business owners, every single one of them. And by the way, we have thousands of testimonials. They've written into papers, they put testimonials, editorials in papers. This has been a wonderful job creator for small businesses. They're making more money than they did before. They're able to write off expenses. They're hiring people. They're fixing up their businesses. They're expanding. So there's so many good things happening out there. And now you look at it possibly losing the House, and you say to yourself, Nancy Pelosi will put an end to it. She's going to raise taxes. She's going to put back regulations if she can get it through the Senate, which I doubt very much. But she's going to put, it'll be a negotiation. It'll create all kinds of chaos. Why would the American people vote for raising your taxes? I just don't understand it.
Right.
Maybe I'm too old to understand the new world.
Well, I don't think you're too old. I also think you're one of the smartest guys around. But Bernie Marcus, always good catching up with you, my friend. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.